Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu. I'm bringing out this video of me talking about a board game, and today I'm going to do my review here on G.I. Joe the deck building game, Take 3. I say Take 3 because this is my third time doing it, but you guys don't need to know that. I don't know why I said that. Alright, so let's go and start our background music here, because I love my background music here. And let's start talking about the game. So G.I. Joe the deck building game is a deck building game to where your goal is to finish your missions. And there's a few different losing conditions. It's full co-op. A few different losing conditions that can happen in this game, so you have to be wary of those. But as long as you can band together with your fellow Joes and take on the Cobra threat, you can actually win the game. So let's talk more about that. So what I have set up here is just kind of like a mock setup. Just having everything set here so I can kind of talk about different bits and pieces. So I have two hands set up here. I have a two-player game set up here, I should say. And we have our mission and all this stuff, and I'll explain some of the things that we're looking at. So before I get into the review, I'm going to do a teach of the game. I don't know if it'll be fully exhaustive, but it'll be a teach enough so you can all know what's going on and use this as a jumping off point to see if this is a game that flows well for you. So throughout this course of the game, I mentioned before that there's one winning condition and there's three different losing conditions. Those three different losing conditions I'll talk about in a second, but the winning condition is for you and your squad to finish the missions here. So I'll bring this on the zoomed in camera here. So there will be a stack of missions that you'll have, and these stack of missions will come from, here's mission 2, this is mission 1, stuff you're looking at here. It'll come from a stack of cards, and these cards will be set up in a certain way at the beginning of the game. But you start the game, each mission structure will have 5 different gray missions for the axe and 1 different gold. So there's 3 different acts. I forgot to say that part, but 3 different acts, and each act will have the possibility to have 2 of these 5 gray missions involved, and then the gold mission, which is like the climax for that act, will be there. So again, this is for mission 2, but I have mission 1 stuff set up here, but I'm just using mission 2 to kind of explain. So let me move mission 1 stuff out of the way for a second. Let's look at mission 2. So the missions are kind of like the chapters or different games you can go through. You don't have to go through each mission in order. You can just jump straight to mission 2 if you want. But if I'm starting up or setting up the deck for play, I will have 2 grays and 1 gold, like so, for the Act 1. And then for the Act 2, as determined by this little number here, I'll have 2 grays randomly, and then 1 of the gold for Act 2. And then for Act 3, right there. For Act 3, I'll take 2 of these, and then the gold one there, making a stack of 9 cards, and then I flip that over, and that is my mission stack. And another thing that you saw, and I'll just go and show it here, is that you have a lot of information on the cards. I'll explain this later, I promise. But you will be you'll have 1 active mission, and then you'll have your next mission that you can look at. So you can kind of know what's coming up and kind of prepare for that, but you have your active mission here. So that's just kind of explaining the thing. You're trying to make it through that entire stack. And like I said, I have the level 1 missions set up over here. The losing conditions for this game are for either you to run out of cards here for your main row. So if you run out of cards here for your main row, as in if I need to put another card, so if I purchase this card or this card disappears and I need to draw a card to put here and there's nothing here, then the game's over immediately. Another way to lose is these Cobra Battalion cards can come out for various reasons, and if I ever need to place a 6th one here, then the game is over immediately, so I need to deal with those threats as we go along. And speaking of threats, the last way to lose is if this track goes all the way up to the top. If it ever makes it up to the top, then the game is over immediately, and threat will be increasing from various negative effects that happen, end of round effects. Different things can make that go up and sometimes go down. So that is a thing that I'm trying to look out for. So as I mentioned before, the entire goal of the game is to finish your missions here. The losing conditions are for you to run out of cards essentially in your middle stack, for you to be overwhelmed by Cobra Battalion, or for that threat meter to reach the very top. Those are the losing conditions, and cool. All right, glad we got that out of the way. All right, now you might be wondering, hey CulBlu, how do I actually play this game that you keep talking about? Great question. So the way that you actually play this game that I'm talking about is you'll essentially go through your various rounds, and it's a typical deck building affair. But you'll have a certain turn sequence as determined by this little turn sequence card here. So I'll just explain it from here. And each player on their turn, they'll go through all these phases, And at the end of their phase, they'll end their turn, and the next person will go, and then rinse and repeat until everybody has had a turn, and then everybody who's playing has had a turn. So in this 2-player game, the left player and the right player, once they both have a turn, then we go to the end of round. And for the end of round, once we get to that particular phase, we do what it says here, and we trigger any end of round effects, if there are any end of round effects, and then we move on to the next round. And then we just keep doing that forever until either we finish our goal of finishing all those missions, or until we end up with one of our losing conditions. So that is the flow of a round. So what I'm going to do before I get into my review of the game is I'm actually going to just give a little bit of commentary. I'm not going to talk about setup. I'm not going to talk about the specifics of things, but I'm going to go ahead and just go through a little bit of a commentary on how some of the mechanics act in the game, that especially the ones I want to talk about. And as a result of that, I'll bring the turn sequence card back on screen here in a second, I promise. But we're just going to assume that this is, let's see. I'm just going to speed things up a little bit. We're just going to assume this is our board state. I'm going to walk through the first few turns here, and then we'll get into a review. So what I'm going to do is I got my starter decks all set up. They're all running and ready to go. They have our starter cards set up as per the rule book, so feel free to check out that if you want to know what's going on there. And I have my starting hand here for the left player, and the right player is going to be the second player, and I'm going to run through just 2 rounds so we can kind of see how that goes. So we're going to start here on the left-hand side, and you can see that I have these cards. I have some starter Joes. The anatomy of a card is an important thing to talk about, so I'll go and explain that now. This card is a Joe, as you can see right there, keyword Joe. It's also one of my starter cards. And this card, there's his name, there's the cost of the card, so that's how much it costs to recruit or buy that card. Of course, it's a starter card, so it doesn't cost anything. The star here is how much recruit power this card will give me. So it'll give me that much purchasing power. And of course, in typical deck building fashion or fair, I'll add up all the recruit that I have from all the cards that I have played to determine how much I can recruit. And then down here is an effect for the Joe. I'll bring in another Joe or 2 other Joes to kind of talk about this a little bit in tandem. You can see here we have mainframe and we have shipwreck. They have a cost because I can purchase these or recruit these from the center row. So mainframe cost me 3 recruit to bring into my fold, and shipwreck costs 2. And you also see that they have these boxes here. So these boxes are important because they will determine what things that you'll get to use to actually finish missions. And I'll explain how missions work here very shortly, but I'm just going to use this card here as an example. So this card is one of our Cobra commanders that we can end up facing, one of the many perils or many threats that we can end up fighting against. And this here is a Cobra battalion, which is another peril or another threat that we can end up fighting against. And I'll talk about these 2 separate, but using Dr. Mindbender as the example here, you can see here he has a few different pieces of information. He's an officer. He also has the keyword group mission, which is very important. And then here's his challenge level. I need to be able to hit a 4 or better before I can consider victory. So I need 4 hits or 4 successes to actually win the challenge. And those successes come from dice, because you do roll dice in this game. A thing that I think is a boon and a bust, but we'll talk about that later. And here's his effect. It says, at the start of a group mission, discard the top card of the main deck. If it's a Joe that you discarded, this mission has +2 difficulty. So anytime you do anything that says keyword group mission, Dr. Mindbender is going to make it harder. First of all, it's going to reduce the timer, or it's going to reduce the amount of time that you have to play the game. And then secondly, if it's a Joe that was discarded, then the difficulty becomes harder. So you have to be very careful and very mindful of when you do fight Dr. Mindbender, which I guess is a little bit par for the course. And moving on to the other card, the Cobra Battalion, you'll notice that their keyword is side mission. So side mission and group mission are 2 different words, of course. And also story mission is the other type of mission that exists. So if I bring this up here, you see that this is a story mission, also a group mission, but story mission too. And the difference between side missions and group missions is that a group mission, everybody who's playing in the game right now can join the mission, and I'll explain how that works here very shortly. But for side missions, only you can prevent forest fires. Sorry. Only you, the person who is tackling that side mission, can send people from your hand to actually go fight and deal with that particular side mission. So I wanted to talk about all those things because we have these keywords, and these keywords are very important because if the keyword matches, then that means that this Joe will be able to have a much easier time taking on the challenge. And when I say easier time, what I mean by that is that if I send a group of these 4 just regular Joes to take on Dr. Mindbender. First and foremost, we have to do the effect that it says here. But secondly, you'll notice that they don't have any skills listed. So as a result, they will grant me a single dice because they do not match. A single die that I have to roll because they don't match the skill here. And that will allow me to roll 4 dice. And if I get 4 hits, then yeah, I win. Or depending on how this pans out, if I get 6 hits, then yeah, I win. And now speaking on the dice are basically a 50-50 for me to hit. They have 3 faces of misses. So these circles are misses and these stars here are hits. They have 3 faces of hits, and one of those 3 hits on the hit side, or one of those faces on the hit side is a crit. So it gives me 2 hits instead of 1. So as a result of that, my chances are basically 50-50 if I actually hit them. So the more dice, the better in this case. So clearly rolling 4 dice from just these 4 is not the best thing in the world. However, if I do have the opportunity to bring in Mainframe, and let's say I replace this guy here with Mainframe, then suddenly the odds are way more in my favor because Mainframe is going to give me 4 because he matches. So I will get 4 dice from Mainframe and then 3 dice from these guys, totaling 7 dice. And when I roll them, if I get my hits, then woohoo, I win. If I don't get my hits, then oh no, shoot, I lose. So that's kind of the main engine of the game. Now, I mentioned before that I'll explain how you get to do the missions and how you get over to fighting the people, and I promise I'll explain that right now. So I am going to continue playing through the turn. We're going to assume that Dr. Mindbender's out so we can use our extra examples here. Put those guys back. And we are going to go ahead and go through my turn. So the first thing on the turn sequence card, the first thing that I'll be doing is I will be going through the action phase. And oh man, I should have made a specific camera view for this, but I didn't. Ah, darn, missed opportunity. But I'll bring us back over here to the small camera, to camera on the side. So we'll start here with the action phase, and then the action phase is going to consist of the mission and recruit. So for missions, I can decide that if I want to go for a mission, then I can decide if I want to go for a side mission or a group mission. If I go for a group mission, everybody here can join. If I go for a side mission, only the active player can do it. And then after I finish that, after I resolve all the mission stuff, whether I succeed or lose, and you can go on multiple missions as long as you have enough Joes to do so, which again, I'll explain a little bit more in a second. Then you can do your recruit. So the recruit is where you essentially just purchase cards from the center row, and any card that you purchase will go on top of your deck, which I think is really cool, really amazing, really nice, really awesome. But that's what's the recruit phase. And then at the end phase is simply just do mission effects, Cobra effects, Joe effects, and then you discard all your cards and then draw 5. And you pass on the turn phase passes to the next person. And if you're at the end of the round, then you do the end of round stuff, so on and so forth. Okay, cool. Glad we talked about it. So following our little card here, we're gonna go ahead and do our mission phase. And I'm gonna go ahead and do something very interesting and very silly. We're going to send these 2 Joes on a mission. Now, when you declare that you're doing a mission, you must first decide, okay, which vehicle do I want to use? In the hangar, you'll have some vehicles, and throughout the course of the game, we'll be able to get more vehicles. So let me just bring up a few vehicles so we can take a look at them. And these vehicles will have a few pieces of information that are extremely important, extremely useful for the entire team. So we have a variety of vehicles here, so let's go ahead and flip the camera over. And what you see here is we have a few different vehicles. We have the starter vehicle here, which is the Vamp, which is one of the core vehicles you'll always see me use because it's just really cool. And you'll see the similar key information that you saw before, except for you'll see this little person symbol now. And this is where things really, really ramp up. This person symbol basically means that this is how many Joes can be added to the vehicle. This is how many Joes you can send on that particular mission. So they're basically riding in the vehicle, they're going to go do the mission, and they can either succeed or fail. So you have to be very mindful of how many people you can fit in there. So if you're doing a group mission, okay, I'll talk about that later. And then the effect of the vehicles down here. So this one says, after the mission, return Vamp to the hangar. So you always have a vehicle available because Vamp will always be there, good old reliable. Subsequently, you have other vehicles like this one that you can recruit later on. It can only fit 3 people, as determined by the artwork and by the little number there. It is a, I don't know what that specific word, a tank class vehicle. So anytime you face a challenge or face a mission that has a tank symbol, which we'll use this one as an example, this particular mission has an airplane symbol. So if you take the Sky Striker on to try to finish this mission, then you'll be able to, the symbols match, so therefore you'll be able to get whatever this is. So in this case, you'll be able to get +3 wild skill, which is really nice. Basically gives you 3 free dice. So in this case, for the AWE striker, you'll have the tank here, and if you have a tank that matches, you'll get the marksman. And then moving on, the shark vehicle, it can only fit 1 person, but it gives you +2 wild, and if you have a match here for a boat symbol, it'll give you +2 tech. So that is a vehicle. That's just kind of going with the vehicles. I'm mostly talking about those because we are going to be using this vehicle because we want to go do a mission. So we're declaring that we're going to use the vamp, and we're declaring that we want to go fight the CulBlu battalion. So we're going to send just these 2 Joes to go do it. And we're declaring that. The CulBlu battalion card specifically says any 1 skill is what you get to choose. So before I start this mission, I can decide which skill I'm going to use. In this case, I'm not going to declare it because it doesn't matter. And I need to get a 2 or better on my dice roll. And if I do, then cool. I get to remove them from that card and free up that card. So I'm going to take my 2 dice that I get. This is, like I said, a horrible idea, but we're going to do it anyway because demo purposes. Roll a little dice, and we got 2 misses. All right, well, that ended about exactly as I expected it to end. So we failed. Failure for that mission is just the CulBlu battalion doesn't go away. They just stay there. They just stay there laughing at me. And now these 2 Joes are exhausted. Now instead of discarding these cards, I'm going to keep these to the side because I do get to still use them for recruit. But they will go back here. The vamp will go back to the hangar, and I can continue my turn. So I am determined to knock down somebody. So I'm gonna go ahead and do another mission. I'm gonna try my hardest to try to go fight Dr. Mindbender now. A very bad idea, but I'm doing this for, again, demo purposes. So if you look at Dr. Mindbender, you'll note that he has the keyword of group mission. And because he has a keyword of group mission, that means that I, as the active player, am determining that, hey, I'm gonna go on a mission. I'm gonna send these 3 Joes, and I can open it up to the table. Hey, is anybody around at the table that wants to join me in fighting Dr. Mindbender? So you'll notice that my ally over here has 2 Joes they can have join the fight. So they're gonna say, yeah, sure, we'll send a single Joe, and they'll be able to send their Joe to the fight. So let me go back over to the zoomed in camera. And this is their contribution, this is me, and now we're on. So now we're gonna go ahead and try to see if we can take on Dr. Mindbender. So Dr. Mindbender is a group mission, and as the text says here, at the start of a group mission, discard the top card of the main deck. If it's Joe, the mission has +2 difficulty. So again, horrible idea to go against him right now, but we're gonna go and try it anyway. So we're gonna discard this card. It is not a Joe, thankfully. So we're gonna discard this over here to the side. And yeah, so we just burned a card, so everything's good though. Nothing truly bad here. And we are going to get ourselves our 4 dice. So the active player will roll all the dice that they're allotted here, even if it's coming from their ally there. And I'm gonna roll my 4 dice. Oh, sorry, dice got stuck. And I got 3 hits. Okay, this is not bad, this is not bad. So now that we're at this particular part of the game, there are other cards that exist. So my ally, who joined me with this guy, he has some cards in his hand, such as this one, that have this very specific symbol. This specific symbol says if you're on a mission, if you have a Joe that's involved in the mission, then you can play this card. That's what that little plus M symbol, that radical M symbol means. And that allows me to reroll 1 die. So my ally is going to go ahead and discard this card. So they're going to activate it, discard this card to their discard. And they're going to let me reroll 1 of these dice. And we'll see if we can get our last hit. And nope, looks like no joy here. We do not get the hit that we need. Shoot. So therefore, we fail the mission, and I was kind of hoping that would be a hit, but yeah, sad days. Well, that's how the dice crumble. So Dr. Mindbender's still in play. My ally, who has contributed 1 of their Joes to this particular fight, that Joe will go into their discard because they're not the active player. The vamp will go back into the hangar, and then all these Joes will come back home unsuccessful, but not defeated. They'll just be unsuccessful. So therefore, I spent all of my Joes. I can no longer do any more missions because I have no more Joes to send on a mission that have not been already on a mission. So therefore, I can now go into my purchase phase, my recruit phase. So I have $5 here. We are going to recruit Mainframe. And remember, he goes straight to the top of my deck. And the next card comes out. And we are also going to recruit We're also going to recruit, because we have $2 left. We have 2 recruit left. We're going to recruit Shipwreck and Polly. And they go on top of my deck as well. All right, so that's it. My turn's over. So now I'm going to continue down the turn sequence, which I'll bring back on the screen here. So we finish our recruit phase. Now we do our end phase, which we look at the mission effects, the Cobra effects, the Joe effects. I don't think there's any of those things that are in play right now. Oh, no, there is. There is. There's this mission. This is the main mission that we're fighting. It has 1 complication, so that's why there's complication cards here. This basically means that if we decide to go on this group mission, if we decide to go on the story mission, before or after we commit whatever Joes we're going to commit, after we send all the things we're going to send, then after we commit Joes, determine vehicle, commit Joes, and then say we're going on this mission, once we're locked in, then we reveal these complications to see how they'll change up the fight. And these complications will be usually nasty things like, one Joe has to go back home, or if this mission doesn't have a leader, then it fails automatically, stuff like that. So you have to be very cautious with the complications there. And this one also has an effect. It says at the end of each player's turn, they gain 1 Cobra Trooper. So Cobra Troopers are cards that are off to the side. They're these guys. Cobra Troopers, essentially, they are really big nuisances. They will go in your deck, so they have the same back as the rest of the cards. And they go into your discard, and when you draw them, they kind of clog up your hand because you only have 4 cards in a Cobra Trooper now. But when you draw them into your hand, they stay in your hand, and when you are the active player again, you can play them, and when you play them, then you can decide to try to fight them as a side mission. And they're only a 1, so it's very small, very low commitment overall, but it's still a big nuisance because it's clogging up your hand, and if they start adding up and building up, it's going to be really bad. And then if you defeat them, they go out of your deck. If you don't defeat them, then they go back into your discard, and you have to deal with them later again. So this particular effect, this story mission effect, will trigger because we're at the end of the turn. So that means that my left-hand player will get a Cobra Trooper right there in their discard, and they'll draw back up to 5, and we will try again with the next player. So my ally over here only has 3 cards. Note, they joined the fight last time, and they played a card. So the penalty of doing such things is that you end up with less cards, which I think is a fair penalty overall, which I'll definitely talk about more in my review. But in this particular case, they're going to go ahead and just do their thing. Just because they can, they're going to go ahead and send out a Joe, their single Joe they have here, over into... Actually, no, they're not going to do that, because I'll tell you why. One of the things that you get when playing 2 players, 1 player or 2 player, so whether you're playing solo or 2 player or 2-handed like I'm playing, is that you have this reserve area. This reserve area is pretty nice because what it allows you to do is it allows you to, on your turn, you can put 1 card here to not use this effect, and then at the end of your turn, after you draw, you get to add that card back into your hand. So it allows you to basically preserve a card between turns that you don't use, and we're gonna take advantage of that. We're gonna have this player put this Joe over here on their side, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, they're not gonna do anything else. So they're gonna, well, actually, yeah, no, they're not gonna do anything else. They're gonna end their turn. So not a very exciting turn. Pretty lackluster, nothing they could really afford. They only had 1 recruit in there. So now they got their Joes, they got a roadblock now, and this guy comes back into their hand, and we don't shuffle. We don't shuffle until we need to draw again. So we're at the end of the round. At the end of the round, we'll do end of round stuff, which is nothing. Oh, actually, we have end of turn stuff. End of round stuff, there's nothing specific for end of round. So this just goes up because we're on the 1 to 2 player side. This will go up by 1, and that's it. Starting back over, the last round that we'll play before I actually finally go into my review. Almost feels like I'm just going straight into a playthrough, I know. We're going to go ahead and try to do the fight with Dr. Mindbender again, because remember, we got Mainframe now, and Mainframe is for tech, and Dr. Mindbender is a tech guy. So what we're going to do is we have a good combination here. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to initiate a group mission right here for the side, and we're going to send Shipwreck and Polly and Mainframe. And actually, I'll bring this up on the, well, I'm not going to bring it up on the zoomed in screen. I'll get the decisions first and bring it up on the zoomed in screen. And then we're going to ask our ally on the other side, hey, can you contribute your roadblock to this one? And they're going to say, sure. Roadblock's going to join the fight, and I'll tell you why in a second. And they're also going to send one of their regular Joes. So now we're going to go into our zoomed in view here. We're going to bring all of our cards and we're going to resolve our stuff. Well, before we do, Dr. Mindbender, his effect is that when you're doing a group mission, which we currently are, you got to discard this card, so I'm going to do that now. I discarded, oh man, it's Beachhead, I like him, he's really cool. But it is a Joe, so that means that Dr. Mindbender is no longer a 4, he's a 6, which is going to make our work a little bit harder here. So we got our work cut out for us. However, you know, it's just how the cookie crumbles. So he's going to be a 6, and we are sending the Vamp. We have the left-hand player sending Shipwreck and Poly and Mainframe, and we have the right-hand player. They are sending Roadblock and GI, or regular Joe. Now, the reason why I explained that we're going to do this mission this way is because Roadblock is a leader, and the effect of Shipwreck and Poly is that, you know, yes, they're not matching on the keyword there, but the effect of Shipwreck and Poly is that if there's a leader on this mission, +1 wild. So that's going to give us more dice overall. So we're all in this together. We're committing to the bit. So we're going to get 2 dice. So 1 dice because Shipwreck and Poly's joining. Remember, all Joes and even the name Joes will get 1 die, even if they don't, or if they don't match the technology there, no matter how many boxes they have, by the way. So for instance, if I had Rock and Roll available and Rock and Roll joined, he would not get 2 dice because he has 2 different specialties. He would still only get 1 dice because he does not match tech. So as cool as he is, he doesn't match that one, so he's not the best guy to send. Anyway, so Shipwreck and Poly is going to give me 1 extra dice there. Mainframe down here, he does match the value there, so or the text there, so he's going to give me 4 dice, which is pretty good. And then Roadblock is going to give me 1, and this Starter Joe is going to give me 1. Roadblock has an effect as well. It says if there is a gear in play this mission, +1 wild skill or draw 1 card. And there is no gear that I can add. The starter cards are not gear. They do not have the keyword gear. The gear cards look like this here. So it has the keyword gear right there. And that card could be played to make Roadblock's effect trigger, but we don't have that. That's not in the cards for us. So we're going to get 8 dice to try to take on Dr. Mindbender. We need a 6 or better. May the dice roll in our favor. Oh man, it's so close. Oh no, we got it. Okay, cool, perfect. I couldn't see it over the tower. All right, that's excellent. All right, so we got our 6. Okay, cool, perfect. So now that we've done that, because we finished the mission, the active player has this card in their hand. So they're gonna go ahead and play this. And it's important to note that if my ally, if Roadblock side had this card, they could not play this card because it does not have the special text. The special text that Roadblock could play, even when they're not the active player, is ones that have the M here, the special symbol, the M symbol here for mission. But because this card does not have the M symbol, this can only be played by the active player. So going back over here, the active player did have this card. We are going to play it, and that's going to allow us to reduce the threat track by 1. Actually, silly, we're not going to play it because the threat track can go, here's a threat track. The threat track can go no lower than where it's at right now. There's no way for me to get back into that spot. So there's no need for me to play that card. Never mind, I got excited, but whatever. I can dream, can't I? All right, cool. So we finished the mission. Dr. Mindbender is now eliminated. He can come back. The Cobra commanders, the Cobra officers, they will definitely come back multiple times. So you will have to face them multiple times. The Vamp will go back to the hangar. Mainframe and Shipwreck and Poly, they'll go over here, just chilling. And then, of course, Roadblock and the regular Joe, they're going to the discard because my ally played them on their off turn. And there we go. We had a very successful mission, finally. All right, cool. So I'm going to finish out this round, and then we'll get into the review finally. So we have here this regular Joe. I'm just going to send him to the side mission. I have no aspirations. I need a 2. I rolled a 1, so it fails. Yeah, we'll go ahead and play second effort. So we'll go ahead and play second effort. Normally, I would not throw cards directly to my discard because they will give me recruit. But because this card does not give me recruit, I just throw it into my discard so I don't accidentally hold on to it. So let's reroll this 1 die. Didn't succeed. It was a 1 in 6 chance of me getting it because he was taking on the Cobra Battalion. All right, so that is it. We are done. Now we go into our recruits. Oh, sorry. One thing I forgot to mention. Going back into our allies' turn. So because they sent a regular Joe, this regular Joe has this text of if this card was part of a successful mission, you may destroy this card. So they're going to decide to do that. And that helps thin out their deck. That helps get rid of the useless cards as they go. You have to be careful because you don't want to become broke, but you have to be careful with that. So you have to be careful with that, but it's still good to do. All right, anyway. I did not have such luck because I did not send a regular Joe on my go there. All right, so we're done with all the missions that we can possibly do. So we're gonna go ahead and do some recruiting. We have $1, $3, $4. So we are gonna go ahead and recruit, we're gonna recruit reinforcements, which allows us to get $2 extra. And then if we do decide to do that, if we do recruit, then we give the card to our ally instead of ourselves. And we have $1 left, can't do anything with it. We are gonna hold on to this card in the reserve, throw these cards away, draw 5 cards. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5. And then this card comes back to my hand. And now we're over to my ally side. End of turn thing happens. We get a Cobra Trooper in the discard. So it's really nice if we take care of that mission, but we're not worried about it because we're almost done. All right, so now it's on my allies' turn. They're taking the last turn here. They got some people who can do a mission. We're gonna send all 4 of these guys to try to take on Cobra Battalion. So we got 4 dice. I'm just gonna go ahead and roll it here. We need 2 hits. We got more than enough hits. We take out Cobra Battalion. It goes away. Boom. And let's see. They're gonna decide to buy a $2 card. Actually, no, yeah. So this is one of the cool dilemmas that comes up in the game, and I'm glad I got to show it here. But essentially, if I decide to destroy any of these cards or send them off to the side, send them to retirement or send them to training, whatever it's called, if I decide to do that, I'm going to lose the money they give me. So if I decided to take this guy and throw them away, I do not get the recruit value. So I must hold on to them if I want to purchase with them and then throw them away later. So in that case, I'm going to hold on to everybody because I want to recruit Alpine. Because he says, if this mission fails, gain 1 card from the main deck discard pile. Ooh, that's pretty good. And that's it. So we're done with our turn. These go in there. We draw our cards. Before we shuffle, Cobra Trooper. Actually, hold on. So I'm checking the turn sequence here. So we do mission effects, Cobra effects, Joe effects, and then we discard and draw. So that means that I will get a Cobra Trooper before I draw. So that's important to note. So I'm gonna have 2 Cobra Troopers in my deck. It's not great. Oh, that's rough. All right. So we got a Cobra Trooper, and we're at the end of the round. This is going to go up. Everything else is fine. We're going to continue the cycle until we finish the mission. Once we finish the mission, the next mission will come up at the start of the next turn, and then we just kind of do that for the entire game. So that is essentially how you play the game. That is not entirely exhaustive because I did not talk about how you set things up. I also did not talk about how you're supposed to set up the complications and actually, okay, fine, I'll just talk about the complications. So the complications, there are 3 different levels of complications. There are level 1 complications like this. There are level 2 complications like these, like that number. And there are also level 3 complications. And I mentioned this part because this is the part that I played wrong on my previous playthrough. And also I didn't really talk about this in my review either. But essentially, when you're in Act 1, you're only using Act 1's complications. When you're in Act 2, you shuffle in Act 2's complications into the deck, so you combine this, and then you're drawing from that list of complications now. And when you go to Act 3, you shuffle in everything, even ones that have been played already, you shuffle those in, brand new, actually, I need to double check that. But you shuffle those in, and then you have a bigger complication deck. So these ones are generally way worse than these ones, just by nature of how they show up. Okay, cool. So that was the only other thing I didn't really talk about. Okay. So that is it for me talking about how the game goes. So the reason why I explained all of that is so I can talk about my things that I like about the game, things that I don't like about the game, and things that I, it's kind of neutral on. So starting off with things that I like about this game a lot, I like the theme. I feel like contributes to the game. It is interesting how the theme of G.I. Joes, you kind of throw them into the vehicle, do a group mission, work together, collaborate, and then you go take on that big bad mission, and you can kind of feel powerful. It's like you build yourself up to get to that. I also like the fact that the artwork is here. it's a really small thing, but like the theme of the game is GI Joe. There's so much artwork. There's so many comic books. There's so many TV shows. There's so much art that they can use, and I'm glad they used the art that they used. I'm assuming this is all just kind of maybe rehashed from some of the comic book stuff. I'm not huge on the lore and the background of GI Joe. I just know that when I play this game, I like to put on GI Joe live streams and just like listen to old episodes of GI Joe in the background while playing this game. It's kind of like a comfort thing to do. And another thing I like about the game, I like the collaboration that you can do in this game. I think I might have hinted at this before, but I like the fact that when you do go on a group mission, everybody can kind of pitch in. There's some card effects that you can play that you can only play if you're involved in the mission. And I feel like that fits really well with the theme of this game, where you're just a bunch of GIs that you're trying to go and do your thing, just a bunch of regular Joes, a bunch of GIs and so forth. And you're trying to like build yourself up to take on the big missions. And the missions get pretty hard as you go along. Like the missions ramp up in difficulty. Sometimes the missions will put a timer on it. Like for instance, this first mission is pretty brutal because we're continuously getting Cobra Troopers in our discard until we take it on. But it's also a 5 challenge mission. So it makes it like, on the one hand, it's a 5 challenge mission, so I want to build up a little bit before taking it on. But on the other hand, it's like this thing is really messing me up. It's really slowing me down. And another thing I didn't really make a call on earlier, but I'll make a call on it now. I said I was going to explain how these cards worked. The way these cards work essentially is that they give you the type of mission that they are. They give you complications. It's the number of complications that you draw. They give you an effect. And if you succeed in it, you get the top part. If you fail in it, you get the bottom part. That's really it. But I wanted to point this out because they will sometimes, and also some of the commanders will have this, they'll sometimes have 2 words with either an or an and. Ands are really nice because you can do people who have martial arts skill and people who have explosive skills, and they can go in and let you do the thing. Again, if somebody has both, you have to choose one. And the ors basically mean that you have to determine which one of these you want to try to tackle it on, and then try to send people with those specialties, if you will. But that was kind of the only other thing I didn't mention there. So the missions really ramp up though, because they can be easy missions with a lot of ands inside of them. In this case, we have a pretty harsh effect for a level 1 mission, for an act 1 mission. So therefore it gives you an and, whereas the second effect is a little bit less brutal, but it gives you an or instead. And there's sometimes where things show up that just kind of or make the clock move faster. They'll do things like slow you down. They'll say, hey, you can't recruit things that are 5 or higher, or boost up the threat track by 2, or if you don't do this by this time, then this bad thing will happen. And it's really fun. It's really fun to like have those challenges show up in the puzzle that you get to solve with your friends, with the people you're playing with the, in this case, your 2 hands. Wow, what a sentence. With your 2-handed play that you're doing is what I was trying to say. And it feels good. It feels good doing those things, coming together, working together collaboratively, especially with the theme of G.I. Joe. And I think it just works out really well. And the last thing I'll say that I like about this game is that there are expansions. There's a lot of expansions. But besides the expansions, there's also some mini expansions, some tiny expansions that give you just like these little paper craft things or these cardboard craft things. And this is completely unnecessary, but what it is this is a hanger thing that you can use. So you just put it over there for your hanger, and whenever you get vehicles, because you can put unlimited vehicles in your hanger, but whenever you get extra vehicles that you can use, you just kind of put them in the car to show that they're ready. So you put them in little slots like that, and it's so silly, and it's so like not. It's so silly, but like I just love it so much. Like this to me feels really cool. It's like it's a nice little 3D way. Like it just looks really cool on the table. Yes, this is just a bunch of cardboard, but it's a really neat thing. They have another one. Let's see. They have this other one that I'll show before I move on. Sorry, I'm trying not to knock everything down. There we go. Here we go. They have this other one that you can use as well, or that you can get as well, that comes with, again, it's just very simple cardboard craft things. And oh my gosh, there we go. And you put it on like that. And all it is just a thing to hold your flying vehicle. So if you have a flying vehicle, you can, well, I don't have a flying vehicle right here. Oh, there we go. You can just put it right there, and there you go. You got yourself like a little flying vehicle thing, and it's just doing this little thing there. And it's literally just nothing but just something you can use to hold cards. Like it's so silly, it's so not needed, but I appreciate it a lot. I like that a lot. All right, cool. All right, now that I'm done gushing about the game, Let me go and talk about things that I don't like. I have a lot of very strong feelings about how long this game lasts. So this game, every single time I play it, always feels like it lasts 45 minutes to an hour too long. And what I mean by that is like when you go through the missions, yes, you're going through the missions, you're grinding through the missions, but there's 9 of those missions in there, and it's like, oh my gosh, can I just be done with this already? Like, I feel like I built myself up and I got to this really strong point. Now I'm just kind of going through the motions of finishing the missions and, you know, getting a few setbacks here or there. And it ends up feeling kind of like arbitrary a lot of times on how well it's gonna go and how not well it's gonna go. Especially when you consider the fact that you can send like an army of an arm or something that gives you 10 dice, and then you roll 10 dice, and then of those 10 dice you needed 4 successes and you only got 3, and it just gets to a point to where it just feels very brutal and unforgiving because you're rolling dice for your things. And I think the dice slow the game down. Like that's my take is that the dice slow the game down a lot. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. I think because I consistently feel that this game lasts 45 minutes to an hour too long, I feel like it's a bad thing overall. But also, I don't know what I would replace it with, because the way that the Joes are set or designed to, the way that they're designed to exist is that they give you really a lot of dice if you choose the right Joes for the mission. So you want to have the Joes like if you have a mission like you need to go underwater, then using somebody who's good at doing water stuff like where'd he go? Oh, Shipwreck and Polly, or using what's this guy's name? Cutter? I think his name's Cutter. He's in here somewhere. 1 second, I'll find him. Is it in Torpedo? Yeah, Torpedo is the guy I was thinking about. Using Torpedo and I think Cutter. I was thinking about Cutter too. Yeah, Cutter's a guy. There you go. Using Cutter or Torpedo, they will give you some things that are usually better for water stuff. So this guy has vehicles and tech. He has stealth and martial arts. One of those things might be better than the others. It can get to a point to where it just feels. If I understand what it's doing, because you want to send the Joes that specialize in the thing to do the mission. That's how you do it efficiently. But also it ends up in a point where it's like, I know, but like I made all the correct decisions. Why do I have to roll these dice to do it, to see if I hit it or not? And it just gets to a point of frustration sometimes where it's like, okay, I sent a single Joe to go do a mission and he was able to take out the mission. He was able to finish the mission because he had 3 dice. I needed a 4 or better, and he rolled a double and 2 hits. Woo, that feels great. And then on the flip side, the big failure that you can have is that, okay, I sent a bunch of Joes to go do a thing. They gave me 12 dice, and I needed 5 hits, and I got 2. That doesn't feel good. And that, I think, is a big detriment for the game. So the dice, like I said, slow the game down. I'll speak more on that in a second, but in Twitch chat here, we have Dice Chuck. Dice Chuck saying, cool, I love this game. I have all the expansions. Yes, I have all the expansions too, except for the Transformers one. I do not have that one. I purposely avoided that one because I was like, I don't need another deck builder. This one's good enough. But the primary thing is that this game ends up in a situation to where through committing to the theme, committing to the bit, it ends up doing a thing that ends up slowing the game down dramatically. And that's a thing that I don't think translates well to me wanting to play the game. Now granted, I do want to play this game and I am actively pushing out to try to play the game. But it's just something that just doesn't feel great, because it's like, with my current hand that I have here, what is this, martial arts and explosives, I have no symbols. I have marksman, I have tech, and I have stealth. I guess marksman exists up here, but he's a $6 card. And yeah, you end up at points where it's like, okay, I can't find anybody who has the thing I need, so it's going to take me a little while to build up my people. So then by then you're kind of dragging the game on because you're just trying to cycle through these cards and purchase things. And yes, you have cards that can let you clear out cards, get them out of the way. And you have sometimes masterminds or officers who can do things like kill cards for you. But you end up in situations where you just end up waiting. And I feel like anytime I have a situation where I have to wait to do a thing that I want to do, that ends up being a game, or that ends up being a mechanic that ends up not being my favorite. It's one of the reasons why I don't like Ticket to Ride as a board game. Not that I'm comparing this game to Ticket to Ride, but in Ticket to Ride, you have to wait for the cards that you need before you can actually do the thing. There's nothing you can do to speed it up. In Pandemic, same thing. You have to wait for the cards you need before you can actually move on and do the thing. And of course, you have to be in the right place at the right time, but that's a whole different conversation about Pandemic strategy. But what I'm trying to say is that those mechanics of you kind of got to wait for the game to let you do the thing. It just slows the game down, doesn't feel good. It feels kind of sluggish. So that is one of my hugest negatives of the game. Another negative that I'll throw up in there is I do have some feelings about the expansions. Let me be more specific. I've played this game with one expansion ever, but I own all the expansions except for the Transformer expansion. And that is a significant thing because there are currently 5 expansions, if you don't count the mini expansions. And I have them, well, okay, I was gonna very dramatically bring them on the table here, but I got stuff in the way. But I have them right here to my side. So let me see. I think 5 is the correct number. Yeah. So there's 5 expansions that you have for the game, and will I ever play with all the expansions? I might feel froggy and say, hey, let me just play through every single thing for G.I. Joe the deck building game. But again, because we have a situation, and sorry, let me put this in the right order. We have okay, so these expansions came out first. Hold on. So here's the base game. Here's expansion 1 that came out. Here's expansion 2, which is Cold Snap. And then Raise the Flag came out. And then Silent Interlude came out. And then Crimson Veil came out. But these expansions add a good bit of stuff, and they give you more missions, which is cool. So in the base game, you get mission 1, mission 2, which again, the missions are varied by themselves because they give you different gray missions. You have the same climax mission, the same gold mission, but you get various other missions. So it gives you a whole stack of missions. So mission 1, mission 2, and this one gives you mission 3, mission 4. This one gives you mission 5, mission 6. The campaign gives you a campaign. There's a campaign mode in here, and some other missions. This one gives you whatever 2 missions that it comes with, and this one gives you whatever 2 missions it comes with. So you have a ton of game. You have a ton of game here. And in addition to giving more missions, this one gives you more Joes. This one gives you more Joes. This one gives you more Joes. There's even somewhere in here that you can actually play as Destro as one of the Joes. So he, you know, their storylines in the G.I. Joe TV show, from the things that I've seen on the live stream, watching episodes every once in a while, to where Cobra Commander or Destro, they end up having to team up with the Joes to, like, you know, take down Zartan because he took over or something like that, or Zartan becomes a good guy and joins them. So there's some of these Joes that you end up getting that end up being like Destro or Zartan, or if you have a favorite Joe in particular and you don't see him, like who's the guy I'm thinking of? He's in the modern G.I. Joe animated series. Is like Grease Rat? I think Grease Rat or something like that. Something Rat. But I don't think he's in the base game. But I'm pretty sure he comes to you in one of the other expansions, which is really cool because you have a Joe that's like, oh, I have a favorite Joe, but he's not in the base game. Well, it's fine. He exists in one of the Joes, or she exists in one of the Joes somewhere, or one of the other expansions somewhere. So the game gives you a lot of stuff, and I appreciate that. I think it's to the point where if you combine everything, excluding the campaign, of course, if you combine everything that the game gives you, as far as the deck where you can draft cards from, you end up with this giant, ridiculous stack of cards. And actually, I don't even have to speculate. I can just show you, because I store all of my G.I. Joe the deck building game in a Gamegenic dungeon. I would not recommend this because this is pretty expensive. This is a $80 box. And I hate it every time I say it out loud, how much it costs. But what I have inside of here is I have all my G.I. Joe, the deck building stuff. So I have the different starter Joes you can get. So you got Hawk and Storm Shadow. They're Joes that you can get. So actually, oh, it's a Storm Shadow bad guy. Cool. Well, I guess he's joining the good guy side. He's teaming up with us. And then you have, these are more complication cards that you can get. And more commanders, more Cobra officers. So you got Firefly, and I'll bring this on the zoomed in screen here, assuming that we can see that. Yeah, so you got Firefly here, you got a lot of variety. Whoops, there we go. You got Firefly here, you got Serpentor, yeah, Serpentor, sure, we'll go with it. Dr. Venom, you have Cobra Troopers, so these guys are just Cobra Troopers. Oh, okay, well I thought you had more. Anyway, you got more bad guys. If I go into the next expansion and pull out those bad guys, you have the Dreadnoughts. I don't know if I said Norks. But that's going to be Zartan's group. So you got Xana, Copperhead, Xamander, Monkey Wrench, Thrasher, Road Pig, and it gives you just a lot of stuff. And that's what I like about games. I like games that give me a lot of stuff. Just give me stuff. Give me things from the series, especially something as expansive as the G.I. Joe series, where you have a lot of different show that you can do. You have a lot of different material you can use. You have a lot of different episodes and sagas you can use. You have a lot of different like mini serial episodes that you can do. Like for instance, the mass device is mission 1. So when you do mission 1, you're just trying to stop, stop Cobra from taking over the world using the mass device. So all the missions kind of follow that same saga. Mission 2, I actually don't know what mission 2 is. Wait, I thought mission 1 was, oh, this is mission 1. Sorry, yeah, mission 1 is the mass device that's here. What's mission 2? Mission 2 is, oh, that's not the right card. Where's my third card? Oh, Lord. There it is. Mission 2's climax is destroy the mind control device. So you're trying to stop them from doing mind control on everybody. Okay, cool. But you just have a lot of stuff. And I think that that's really cool. That's really great. However, it does add to the complication of the game. It does add to the length of the game. And it does add to why I'm putting this a little bit in the con, a little bit in the pro. On the pro side, it gives you a lot of stuff. On the con side, I'm never going to play all this. I'm never going to play all this. I'll try, but I'm never going to play all this. And that's more so a commentary on me as a person who's buying this game, as opposed to a critique on Renegade Games for publishing the game, because there's nothing telling me that I need all this. I would make the argument, if you're looking to get in G.I. Joe the deck building game, get in the base game, and then one of the other expansions, and then the campaign if you really like the game a lot. And I think that gives you plenty of stuff. I would even go so far as to say, if you want to pick a specific pairing, the two I would recommend, probably from what I hear other people talk about, not necessarily me playing through, because like I said, I've only played through one of these expansions, specifically Shadow the Serpent. But the base game plus Silent Interlude is probably the go-to, because Silent Interlude gives you an interesting and different approach to playing solo, where you play as Snake Eyes and you're trying to not make noise. Snake Eyes and Scarlet, and you're trying not to make noise. And so it gives you a unique 1 to 2 player mode is what I'm saying. And it gives you Snake Eyes and Scarlet, and you're trying to walk through and finish the mission without making too much noise and being detected. And it's really cool because it gives you like another way to play. There you go, 2 new modes of play. And there's also a trader mechanic in Crimson Veil. Is it Crimson Veil that gives you trader mechanic? I think it is. Let me see. Nope. Cold Snap? Really? No, I don't believe you. Yeah, no, Cold Snap gives you the Snowblind cards. Where's the trader mechanic? Sorry, I'm trying to see where the trader mechanic is. I didn't think it was in the first expansion. Huh. That is so weird. Anyway, there's a trader mechanic that exists inside of G.I. Joe the deck building game. So if you like trader mechanics, oh, it's in this one. Is it in this one? Oh, it is in this one. Wow, okay. Yeah, well, there you go. That's my recommendation. Get the base game plus Silent Interlude. It gives you an interesting way to play solo. It gives you an interesting way to play 2 players, and also gives you the trader mechanic, which, like I said, for some reason I thought it came in Crimson Veil, but it makes sense that it came in Silent Interlude or whatever. So that is kind of my overall feelings on the game. If I had to give this game a rating, I would give it a solid 7. I want to inch towards 7.5. If the game didn't last as long as it did, I'll be good. I'll be happy to give it a 7.5, but I think a 7 is where I'm going to live at for this game. Definitely, again, it's going to live on my shelf forever. And just to give a little bit more context with what I keep saying about the game lasts too long, I feel like this game is a 2-hour game at most. It should last no longer than 2 hours. Anything more than 2 hours is like, why am I still playing this? But I consistently, when I play this game, I consistently end up hitting that 2 hour 30-minute mark, 2 hour and 45-minute mark, and it's like, if this game could have just ended like 40 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, this would be great, because I get just enough of the game, I get to get my engine going, I get to see how my deck gets nice and efficient, and I get to feel very powerful, and then the game keeps going. I was like, oh my god, why am I still here? So in reality, it's just kind of a middle section for this game that ends up being something that doesn't feel too good. And oh, hello, Board Game James. Hello, welcome. Yes, that is my overall feeling of the game. A game I don't want to say I highly recommend it. I have not played the Transformers deck building game. I have not played the Power Rangers deck building game, and also have not played the My Little Pony deck building game. I almost got the My Little Pony one because the mechanics sounded like they were kind of maybe interesting for me. But the Transformer one, the gameplay loop, from what I heard reviewers say about it, didn't seem to be up my alley. And the Power Rangers one for sure wasn't really up my alley. I didn't like the loop of like how that seemed to work. From what I remember, I don't remember what exactly the loop was, but the gameplay loop that's inside of this one is good. And I'm mentioning that not just to say that I think this one's fun, because clearly this is one that I like, but I also want to mention that the different deck building series, the My Little Pony, the Power Rangers, the Transformers, and the G.I. Joe one, they do play very differently. So one of the cool things about it is that when you do decide to, maybe the My Little Pony theme is your thing, you can go for that one and just expect the gameplay mechanics to be different, which is good. The Transformers one is kind of similar to this one. It's not as similar as it might seem, because you're building more on a grid than you are on kind of playing cards and just kind of fighting in a line. But the Transformers one I mentioned because there is a crossover between G.I. Joe the deck building game and Transformers deck building game. That is the one expansion I don't have. I know I said I have all the expansions earlier except for the Transformers one, and that's why I mentioned that, because I have no interest in the Transformers gameplay loop. So therefore I'm not going to get it. I might get it just for completion purposes, but then I have to get all the Transformers ones, and they're just trying to get me to buy more games. How dare they? Okay, cool. So overall, yes, I like this game a lot. I will be doing my playthrough, I have already done my playthrough. So if you're watching this video, actually, let me say this more specifically. If you're watching the review of this video at this time, and if you're watching live on Twitch, I will be ending this video and going straight into a playthrough. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will have seen my playthrough first, and then you'll see this review afterwards. So the reason why I'm doing that is because I have to redo my playthrough because I did a rule wrong, which I talked about earlier, but we will get it correct, and we will get ourselves another playthrough of this game here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Outside of everything here, I just like with this offering. It's just a fun offering. All right, cool. So thank you all very much for joining. Hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, I will see y'all whenever.